Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
Planned Parenthood released a marketing video for Trump.
I'm kind of torn about that.
Me too. National Museum of African American History has a little to teach us about whiteness.
They're getting $1 billion a year from the feds.
Oh, they're privileged.
Oh,
Bunch of white people.
Florida is working on its social justice math.
Oh, really?
With the coronavirus.
Oh, yeah?
You know, 2 + 2 equals
Hey, that's white.
5.
That's whiteness.
That's
whiteness.
absolutely is.
Protestant.
Hey guys, welcome to Cross Politic. It is good to be with you, Pastor Toby Chalk Knox. I'm the Water Boy.
Create!
We'll be hearing a lot of that.
What is he doing?
Sorry.
I think he's trying to do this.
There you go.
So that's
there
what it's been
you
going
were close.
2020 has just been
close.
that. That's all 2020 is. Just 2020 just over and over again.
That's actually what 2020 is.
Make sure you guys download the app, join the club, and sign up for our Fight Laugh Feast conference. We hope to see you guys there in October.
You did it.
Yeah,
You
all
did it.
3.
Okay. Also, are you coming to the Grace Agenda?
Yeah, I am.
Are you going to be there?
We're going to be there.
Thanks.
We're going to be there.
Good, because
Come hell or high water, we're doing it.
I'm speaking.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm
What you talking about?
How to be a person.
This is going to be very short.
No.
Really? We
No.
have a problem being persons now.
Have you not been in 2020?
Point taken.
We
Point
need
taken.
people.
How to be a person.
Okay, wait. I want a little sample.
We're just going with how to be a person.
Which,
Like the bar is right
It's
there.
Trump
The
Solo.
bar is right there. It's like how to be people, human beings
That
made in
is
God's
funny.
image. Let's go for it. Let's do it. This show is brought to you by Moscow Family Dentistry, and I totally lost the stuff, the things, the thing I was supposed to say.
read?
It's at the top.
Maybe you can tell us how to be a person.
When you,
I'm interested.
that's all we're doing. It's just how to be a person.
Wow.
But if you become a person and you have teeth, you should go see Moscow Family Dentistry. When you step into Moscow Family Dentistry in Moscow, Idaho, you'll know you found the perfect place for your family's care. In fact, all those people in there are people. And they treat you like people. Our team loves helping kids grow into healthy adults. Dr. Ben Bowen
I like him.
knows that early experiences influence basically how you're going to think about, dentists and oral health for the rest of your life. One negative experience can affect a child's outlook, and they ain't never going back to the dentist again.
He ain't a person. That's what they'll think if they get a bad dentist.
But you can be sure your child will have a great experience at Moscow Family Dentistry. All my kids have gone there recently.
Yeah, mine too.
And they all had good experiences.
Yeah.
The services offered at Moscow Family Dentistry ensure that patients of all ages feel welcome, from the earliest checkups to orthodontic evaluations. Dr. Ben Bowen will listen to your concerns and guide you through every stage. Go to MoscowFamilyDentistry.com if you'd like to find out more.
And this also reminds me that if you guys are going to be coming to our conference and you have a company that you'd like to exhibit at our conference, go to our website and there's an exhibit form. We can only accept a certain amount of exhibitors, so exhibiting is limited, but you guys can go to our
Apply now. Space is limited.
FightLaughFeast.com to apply. I would love to have your company support our conference and love to have you guys join us at the conference. So, Planned Parenthood released an advertisement for Joe Biden. But it kind of was a Trump advertisement.
Oh, okay.
I would veto any legislation that weakens pro-life policies. Make America great again.
Just close your eyes and imagine.
Imagine a leader who builds us up, not tears us down.
But you knew then and you know now that march did not end in Montgomery.
Who seeks thoughtful solutions to complex problems.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to make progress.
Complex
on the
problems.
matters that matter most. Civil liberties, women's right to choose, civil rights,
Manufacturing.
voting rights, healthcare.
Who seeks to help, not punish the most vulnerable.
You cannot be charged more for the same health insurance as a man. Pregnancy can't be a pre-existing
Punish the most
condition.
vulnerable.
I would codify Roe v. Wade and cases.
A leader.
Not punish the most vulnerable.
Isn't the founder of Planned Parenthood?
Punish the most vulnerable.
Yeah. Isn't that Margaret Sanger?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought we were tearing down statues.
Yeah. You know, when our state senator, Russ Fulcher, he wrote a letter asking
Congressman.
He wrote a letter asking Margaret Sanger's like her there's a monument to her.
Yeah.
And asked it to be torn down.
You know what? This is interesting.
That's awesome.
But here, we were talking about this. My wife and I, because, we have fun conversations in the Shen household talking about poopy water and all kinds of stuff. My wife was like, she's upset about the tearing down of statues. And she even got really upset about this. She's like, because there's not any markers being left of what we came from.
Yeah.
And so to tear, she's like, my kids need to know that Margaret Sanger once wanted to eradicate them.
Right.
Yeah.
And you start removing landmarks of where we came from, and now we have no history of where we're at now.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we end up really doomed to repeat it because there's no like, oh, we were here.
I wonder if we could start like some sort of museum that collects all these statues that's torn down,
right?
And set it up in Moscow.
But here's the deal: it's not just tearing down the statue or removing them and putting them into a different place. No. These people were so arrogant enough to put the statue up right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's how sinful man is.
Yeah.
And so there's a necessity to say, no. We need to understand something about our history, and we need not to just tear it all down.
Right.
We need to, and it says something about where we came from and where we're currently at too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate his sentiment of wanting to say, yes, let's remove Margaret Sanger.
If we want to talk about evil.
Yeah. But what I'm talking about is let's remove the things that she promoted and stood for, like Planned Parenthood.
Like whiteness.
We don't want her ideology.
Remove the actual services.
Right.
Remove the actual company.
Remove the
actual
world view that operates.
But don't forget.
You can't forget.
Don't forget the evil.
You can't forget it.
So should they leave statues up of Lenin?
I think so.
In places.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is actually I'm going to skip ahead. The Smithsonian thing.
Okay?
The whole whiteness thing.
Do it.
Right? So the National Museum of African American History and Culture has this whole thing display. It's on their website right now. Aspects and assumptions of white culture. And I talked about this a little bit on the news brief last Thursday.
Which is the reason you should download the app, because we're ahead.
It's right. But, identifying things of whiteness like rugged individualism, the nuclear family, a father and mother, it goes on. It's like hard work, being polite is considered whiteness now.
This is very offensive. I mean, I'm not even joking.
Now here's and Protestant work ethic, delayed gratification. It's basically Christianity with a few other little things mixed in. But the thing that's a little bit... well, it's awful. This is awful.
This is racist.
This is absolutely
racist.
Now,
we follow rigid time schedules.
It's funded by the Smithsonian, which gets $1 billion a year from taxes. It's a federally established museum company business. And to your point, though, I mean, I do have some mixed feelings because they're using this as propaganda. They're using this as evangelism for a false religion, a Marxist religion, whatever you want to call it, a woke religion. And at the same time, I think it's a museum. Mm-hmm. And what they'll hide behind is they'll say, we're just putting monuments here to what our history.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's what I think that's the part where we have to decide, tease out. We'll say, is this being used as evangelism and propaganda?
Yeah, that's
which is what Lenin statues were.
Yeah, that's right.
Honor this man.
Yeah. Right.
Or is it really legitimately a memorial stone that says, remember what God delivered us from? And and there's a big difference there, although a snapshot doesn't always capture the difference. Right. You could have a snapshot of something, and that's...
Remember the trading posts? I had a chance to see some of those trading posts where slaves were sold at.
Yeah.
And being able to go there, and the fact that it wasn't removed.
Right. Was still there.
Right. And guess what? There were no slaves on it.
And it's not being used.
And everybody hates it.
Right.
Right. We hate the fact that we once did this.
Well, it's like the Holocaust Museum.
Right.
If you go to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., I mean, it's full of the horrors of the Holocaust. Yeah. Why? Mm-hmm. So we'll never forget.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we'll not to glorify Nazism, not to glorify Hitler, not to glorify anti-Semitism, but just the opposite of that.
That's right.
And so there's ways of just demonstrating that and reminding people of that. The thing is when you remove all the memories, you remove all the landmarks, okay, that makes you the most vulnerable people.
That's right.
You don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You have no roots, and now and you are just people can manipulate you. You can be manipulated because you don't have the roots. You don't have the memories of I know how this happened.
That's right.
I know what happened last time.
Yeah.
When they started making everybody wear something.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
God
to be able to define who was a real person.
Yeah, who was the real person.
Who wasn't a person. And one
back
of the
to your
things,
talking Grace agenda.
I was talking to a guy who works at ADF. He was talking about this. One of the goals of secularism is to completely remove us from history.
Yeah.
And one of the histories is the history we have in America,
Right.
but also family history.
Right.
Who you were attached to, who was your grandfather, what did your grandfather do? Because that tells you in your lineup who you should be, who you shouldn't be, how you should act.
How to be a person.
How to be a person. Come on now, I see you. I see what you're doing.
Back.
Man. And this is why we have, David wasn't a perfect person.
No.
But we need to have that history to understand that.
And that's the thing, too, is wisdom is all about reading the history and actually sorting it out.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, David was a man after God's own heart. God loved David.
Yeah.
He was a faithful man, and he was a grotesque sinner.
Yeah.
In particular ways. And sorting that out. Otherwise, what you end up with is, again, this goes back to being herdable.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah,
able to be
that's right.
herded around
Yeah.
is you don't have wisdom to see that people it's not all easy, all the bad guys wear black shirts that says bad guy on them.
Right.
And all the good guys wear white shirts or whatever. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
We're not caricatures. Stories are more complex.
way
than that.
more complex
Good
than
guys
that.
have flaws,
Yes,
and
right.
bad guys are still made in the image of God.
That's right.
And it's complex, and you have to. And wisdom means being able to read that story and start seeing patterns in that story where you see those trends.
That's right.
But it's
That's right.
But it's not like there's not like bad music playing when the bad guy comes in.
Yeah. Because we can't reason like that, we can't, when someone says be like David, we're like, oh, wow. You want to be like what he did with Bathsheba. It was like, wait, no. Or we say, don't be like David. Oh, you don't want to be a man after God's own heart.
Right.
But we can't hold those two worlds together.
That's right.
Go to harmonize those
Go to
two.
Hebrews 11.
Yeah,
Right.
right. The
It's
Hall
a
of Faith.
list of all the men and women who live by faith.
Yeah.
Samson was in there.
And that's a hall of monuments, a hall of statues.
Yeah,
That's right.
And none of those people were perfect. None of those people were sinless.
And of course, God marked, he used the rainbow to mark a very atrocious event, the destruction of the world, and his promise.
Those two held together.
those
so
held together.
you would never forget.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's talk about George Floyd. You said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
What a terrible question to ask.
I'm torn here on this.
What a terrible question to ask.
Because we need to do that as a stinger for sure. But
What a terrible question to
But
ask.
I'm torn here because I think obviously the question she's asking is kind of like a get you, kind of got you. I want to maneuver you kind of question.
Right.
But then also Trump's response, I don't think was that good either, in the sense that tit for tat. It's kind of a tit for tat answer. Oh, black people are dying. Well, guess what? More white people are dying.
Do you think she was trying to trap Trump?
Yeah, I think the questions like that absolutely are trying to maneuver. Maybe not so much trap, but trying to maneuver.
She just said a fact, right?
Why are black people still dying?
Right. Why are black people still dying at the hands of the police?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then
I don't know. I appreciate. I think he could say. He could say it a little bit different, but it's terrible. That's terrible, and a lot of white people are dying too.
Yeah. So Knox, if I were to ask you that question, if you were President Trump right now,
I'd be dead.
If you were Black Trump, Trump right now,
they kill me.
With an afro.
How would you answer that question?
Well, first, let me just say this. I think Christians need to stop getting our talking points from Trump. And I think that we need to stop talking like politicians and start talking like Christians.
Yeah.
We got to remember that we represent Christ. Right. We represent the Bible. And so when we talk, we want to talk in a way that represents that. So I don't want to lean into, because honestly, our rhetoric is so poor, and just hitting a talking point isn't good enough. Yeah, and so I think there's many ways to deal with this. And you can't tell Trump not to talk like Trump. Trump is going to talk like Trump. My problem is that we are talking too much like Trump. Okay. And so I think one of the things to do is to say, if it is a trap, there's more than ways. If you think you're in a trap and it's a trap, it's like, you know what? I'll tell you one thing. I care about black people. and I care about life, and I care about the fact that they would be dying at high rates. And the highest rate that I see where black people are dying at right now is because of abortion.
Right.
And so I really want to ask the question, why is it that black people feel like it's okay to take and walk their children into the abortion clinic and to kill their very own people? That concerns me.
Yeah.
And my heart is for them. And so what I want to do, and my policies that I've been putting in act, is to try and make sure that the minorities among us are the ones who can do the best.
How do I vote for Knox?
And the politicians that we have right now, the politicians that we have right now don't seem to care about that.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and let me be honest with you, there are a lot of white people that die at the hand of police officers too. And that's not to be like a push off to say, oh, you know what? So therefore it's okay. No, it's not okay that our police officers are killing American citizens of whom I care dearly about. You know,
I'm going to vote for Knox in November. That's it. I'm just writing him in. I'm just writing in Chocolate Knox. That's what I'm doing.
We can do a better job with our rhetoric, and we don't have to. We are so, I mean, this is what you were talking about earlier, being able to hold these two things together. There is nothing wrong with being able to hold those two worlds together. Remember, too, the person who you're talking to. Right. Remember, we want to win them. We don't want to just beat them in the head. And most of the time, I'm seeing facts used to beat people in the head instead of saying, how do I use that to be able to say, man, I am with you. Why don't you agree with me about how God says to run the world?
Right. But that, but that would assume that these people, that people actually are going to follow an argument.
Yeah, and right, I agree. That's another. Maybe we have to talk about this in the third segment.
Yeah, we should get there.
We need to talk about the fact that we're talking to dead men.
Yeah.
We are preaching to bones that are not alive, and we need to be mindful of that too.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Robert Boyden from Classical Conversation.
Oh,
the revolution happened in education.
Robert,
coming up next.
How to be a person.
I really want to hear this.
Right. I know.
I want to get a peek at the notes.
When a medical need arises, hundreds of thousands of Christians across the nation care for one another by sharing financially for those medical needs. Samaritan members pray and reflect God's love and care by providing for one another. While times continue to change, God's love doesn't. He cares for us as we are called to care for one another.
I want to burn that stinger.
Hey, welcome back to Cross Politic on the one and only Fight Laugh Feast Network. Don't forget to sign up for the Fight Laugh Feast Conference in Nashville.
October 1st
to the 3rd. Go to fightlaughfeast.com, sign up now, and if you're a member, you get $100 off. Just email Gabe, the water boy, and he'll give you a code.
Contact at fightlaughfeast.com.
Yeah, $100 off. It's like you're losing money if you don't sign up.
And who wants to lose money in the COVID crisis?
Man, we got a bunch of Dave Ramsey fans out there, so I know they're wanting to sign up for that.
Hey, with us right now, we got Mr. Robert Borton.
What up, Rob?
He's the CEO of Classical Conversations. He is married. He got 3 kids.
And they all baptized?
Yes, sir.
And see,
of course they are.
You're all right, Rob.
The thing you got to remember, though, about Robert is that he played rugby.
Yes.
At Clemson?
Yes, sir.
See? You don't mess with that guy. And he runs, is it the world's biggest online classical Christian school company?
In person. World's largest in person.
Yeah.
We're now in 43 countries. So 43 countries.
Right.
Every single state.
Wow.
So we've got a community near you.
43. What's the newest country?
Texas.
Amen. That's right.
As soon as they leave, they'll be number 44. Of course, we have Texas is our biggest state. That's where we have the most students.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, we've been adding a lot of countries in South America, and so we're definitely adding down there in the Philippines and then Mexico as well. So
I've been reading,
working hard on Spanish translations.
This whole crazy. 2020 is crazy. The COVID crazy, the riots, I don't know, the orders, all this stuff. And the schools are, a bunch of them are talking about not opening back up. I was reading this morning.
That's right.
California's 2 largest school districts announced that they're not going to be open for in-person instruction.
LA and San Diego.
Yeah.
Orange County's packed in between, and apparently they're opening.
So, but you even corrected me. I said online. I didn't mean to say online. I know Classical Conference is not online, but You said in person, and then you underlined it. In person. So is Classical Conversations going to be in person this fall?
The good Lord willing, if we have to meet under a tree or in a boat, just let us be.
I know, that's right. Hey, when you were talking earlier, you said that you guys have schools across the nation, across the world, actually. And I was thinking, do people in other countries understand the need for homeschooling better than you think some of the people in America do?
Well, when we talk to people internationally, they feel like they were the only ones and didn't know other people felt that way. And so when they find Classical Conversations or find out more about what we're doing here in the United States, they just are, first of all, super grateful that there's someone who's willing to help them get started and they don't have to figure it all out. And really a lot of people, foreigners already homeschool because the schools there are so poor. Like in Brazil, where we're growing like wildfire, they only do half-day schools, so the parents pretty much have to homeschool anyways. So there's a lot of and then the poor people don't necessarily have schools. There's not like the government-run systems that we see here in the United States in a lot of places. So there's a lot of not homeschooling like we think of here in the United States, but people educating and living their lives with their kids. And now we can come alongside them and give them a great educational platform and process. And really just, I think we can make a huge impact in some of these countries by just raising leaders.
Why would somebody sign up with Classical Conversations?
Well, Classical Conversations equips parents to educate their children using the timeless tools of learning within the current culture. And so Classical Conversations' focus is on the parents and equipping them. So with all these new homeschoolers coming in,
right,
we want to make sure that they have their kids at home, which is awesome, but they often don't know what to do and know where to start. And that's where we can fill in all those gaps for them. And we have online training and that in-person community where we're going to connect them with a veteran homeschooler that can help mentor them and make sure that they have a great year and make sure that their kids don't fall behind, because a lot of parents, these kids are losing a year of education, or people are afraid they're going to lose a year of education.
Right.
Wow.
I'm personally not. I think having them at home is going to accelerate their education. And when you have a partner like Classical Conversation with our proven program and proven process, you can give them a great educational year and set them up going forward, no matter what your educational choices are in the future.
We've talked a lot about it on the show since the whole Corona panic started. Back in March, right? And we've really kind of been trying to every interview or every person that we've been getting on the shows, we know there's an opportunity here. The coronavirus has come in. It's, maybe shut down some businesses, but where's the opportunities to serve, to grow your business, or to start a new business? How has the coronavirus impacted or affected Classical Conversations in all this?
Yeah, so, not being able to meet in person, we had to pivot our in-person training for parents this year online. So you can find that actually on our YouTube channel, which is great because before you had to make time and find babysitters or sign up for our camps to go, but now you're able to watch it on demand online and really get that great training that you may have missed before. And so we've been able to really pivot a lot of what we've done and make it accessible to a wider range of people. And with everyone that is making late decisions to homeschool, being able to have that online when they would have missed it if it had been in person makes it so that those who choose Classical Conversations are going to be much more prepared to have a successful year with their kids at home than someone who doesn't.
How many kids, or have you been able to get a handle on like the growth of the homeschooling movement nationwide because of all the schooling shutdown?
Yeah, so there's homeschooling and then there's public schools at home. And obviously when you do public school at home, the local school still gets fully funded. And so we're seeing a lot of people, a lot of schools obviously offer public school at home and under the guise of homeschooling in order to keep their funding. Right. And so it's hard to know the exact number of people who are going to be privately educating at home, which we would consider homeschoolers, not public schoolers at home. But I suspect it could double. But I think the number of people who are educating at home is going to, it's going to grow exponentially, maybe 10x. You could see almost a third. You could see a third of children being educated at home this year versus your typical about 5%. So,
now, is rugby part of the Classical Conversations curriculum?
No, we definitely encourage you to find a local club. Usually rugby is a sport that's played in clubs instead of through schools. Yeah. And so it's a sport that a lot of homeschoolers have access to if you want that physicality.
Because it's dangerous. Robert, one thing that you said I just picked up on, my wife was really upset during the COVID thing happened and people were talking about schools. It's like, I guess everybody's going to homeschool now. And she looked at me and she said, baby, that ain't homeschooling. Just because them kids are at home.
Right.
Their education isn't that of a homeschooler. Would you walk that out a little bit and separate and explain the difference between public school at home versus Classical Conversations and what you guys are doing?
Sure. So public school at home is really designed around the teacher and the curriculum and the student, pretty much in that order, versus homeschooling is designed for the family. And so when you have homeschooling, and what we hear from these people who tried to do public school to finish off the school year and now come into Classical Conversations is they didn't know what to do. They weren't really, the teachers were doing the best that they could. It wasn't that it was the teacher's fault or anything, but the public school system isn't designed to do public school at home. It's not friendly to the parents. It doesn't take a child's nature into consideration. It takes into consideration that a teacher is trying to teach 100 or 120 students in a day on Zoom classes often. So it's just not beneficial to the family. It's not beneficial to the student. Versus homeschooling curriculum is designed for a homeschool mom or dad who is picking the curriculum intentionally, has no experience in the subjects whatsoever, and is designed to have your child master the subject without having a master teacher. And so that's really the difference, is a homeschool curriculum is designed for you, the homeschooling family, to be successful, and the online public school at home is really designed to get those 180 days out of the way and just do their best
to get through.
Frankly, it's not very good.
I wonder if these public homeschool at home situations, if I said that right, where the parent starts seeing the curriculum and the sex education curriculum and the
evolution.
We evolved from tadpoles.
Exactly. And then they're trying to help their kids, with the homework assignments, answer the questions, all that stuff, and start becoming kind of appalled.
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my kid, sex education,
right?
Homosexual sex education. I imagine that's a huge shocker to the system. How many have you seen a big, influx from public school over into Classical Conversations, kind of in terms of inquiry, I guess. I don't know how you'd even judge that yet.
Yeah, so we'll know what our enrollment numbers are in September, but we are hearing from parents that they did not know what their kids were being exposed to and the ideas that they were being taught. And so we are hearing from parents searching for other opportunities. Typically this time of year, we're getting about 40 to 50 leads per day through our website. Right now we're getting between 350 and 400 leads per day through our website. So we're seeing an 8x. We're doing in a day what we almost do in a week. Normally. And
Robert,
it's just been shooting up more and more.
Can you talk to us, remind our audience about this cool program you started recently for moms who want to get a master's degree?
Yeah, so we're launching our pilot program for moms who want to get a master's degree in classical education through SEU. It's part of us giving back to the homeschool community. Our focus, as I said, is educating parents on how to educate their children, and we have some of the best educated parents in the world, not because they were that way when they started, but because we've empowered them and give them the tools and given them just the opportunity to have that happen. And so we saw really an opportunity to value our homeschooling parents that choose to use classical conversations for their family. It's a unique opportunity and really designed for them, because when they empty nest, right, you have this homeschooling mom who's been homeschooling for 12 years or 20 years,
right?
But they're not credentialed, and it's difficult for them to go get a job. Maybe they'll go do work at the church or the library, which are great things to do, but there's not a lot of businesses and schools don't value that experience like they ought to. And by getting credentialed, they can have opportunities to really start that second career path after sacrificing economic gain for so many years for the good of their family, the good of their country.
Yeah, I love that idea of just honoring moms. Who sacrifice. I mean, and of course, dad's got to be intimately involved in this. It can't just be a mom thing. But I love the fact that they're honoring that and seeking to highlight that. One other question I had was, what are you seeing or what are you hearing, across the country with all these? We were talking again in-person stuff earlier, but lockdown orders, shutdown orders, quarantine orders, whatever. How is that affecting the classical conversations communities that are meeting? Are any of them running into legal problems? Have any of them, said, whatever, we're going to meet anyways? And are how's that going?
Don't be telling on them.
Yeah. So, obviously, California shut down churches again, and in fact shut down worship inside their own homes. So, I mean, we are against tyranny. We are for Christian freedom. So each community is kind of having to navigate that. We've given them a list of ways to start the school year. They might start in homes. They might start under a tree. Right. They might start in a park. They might start online even. I know I said we don't do online school, but we've given them the tools to start online if they're in an area that needs to do that. But the nice thing about CC is our groups are very small, typically no more than 8 for the younger ages, and then no more than 12 for middle school and high school. And so we're really able to fit under most rules. We've got a partnership. We've got a great partnership with an insurance company that families or groups can opt into. That's going to give them some COVID-19 coverage if something does happen. And, of course, we've got different waivers. We've given different ideas for procedures and different policies for communities so that they can support whatever needs that they have, because we are supporting people in 43 countries, and all 43 countries are experiencing some level of COVID, and it's impossible. It's impossible, and we wouldn't ever dictate to homeschooling families like how to do it.
Sure.
So we've tried to, we've been in touch with doctors, nurses, epidemiologists, and looking at the different websites and just really providing them a great number of resources. So whatever situation they find themselves in, they can homeschool with confidence during these trying times.
I remember back in when I was homeschooled back in Texas in the early 80s, it was actually illegal in Texas when we first started. And whenever someone would knock at the door during the day, my mom would tell all the kids to run into the closet. So we'd go into the closet.
Which explains a lot about you, Gabe.
It does.
Come out the closet.
Well, because mom didn't want child protective services if they came by.
I know.
This is a real thing.
I know.
And mom didn't want them hearing kids in the background if they came by knock the door. And so, well, anyways, by the grace of God, like Texas changed and all the homeschooling opened up in Texas.
Right.
But it's nice for things to come full circle. Like now, public schools are wanting to homeschool their kids right now. Right. They're doing public school at home and all that stuff. Have you had a chance to consult with the public school system or your state or any of that to say, hey, here's how you do it. We've been doing this for a long time,
I've had parents reach out to me, ask if we would, but no, I haven't had any. The government likes to do what the government does, and they don't want to have people with experience.
Robert Bortons from classicalconversations.com. You should go check them out. You know, one of the things that's amazing, it's not only good for your kids, but it's great for you too. I mean, it's a great way to have a good lineage. Robert, thank you so much for joining us on Cross Politics. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for supporting us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you guys. You guys keep up the good work. Just keep on fighting.
You too, brother. More
not so much Easton. We're fighting.
We're fighting right now.
More Cross Politics when we come back.
Most Americans love their higher education like they love their cheese. Factory produced, unhealthy, floppy, and neutered of flavor, thanks to the easily offended. We prefer our education sharp, hard, and handcrafted in Idaho. New St. Andrews College. Biblically integrated, culturally potent, liberal arts. In person this fall.
Did Toby just clap?
He's feeling good.
He just clapped?
He's feeling the spirit.
What did you put in my same page summer mug, Gabe?
Well, since this isn't NRB TV or Xfinity, that's Jameson right there. Yeah.
Is
that
that
Jameson?
That's some strong drink.
Yep.
So is it okay to drink Jameson out of the Founders mug?
So my son's middle name is Jameson. So Cash Jameson, song and whiskey right after Jameson.
Really?
Yes.
You would do that.
Yep.
I baptized my Founders mug with Jameson.
We love you, Tom and Jared. Hey, welcome back to Cross Politics. This is the third segment in which we're just going to kick it.
Yeah.
We're going to freestyle.
There's a lot to kick.
Which just means that we have no idea what we're going to talk about, and this is very dangerous.
Yeah, right. Guys, I was listening to a podcast. I sent it to you guys yesterday by Daniel Horowitz.
Yeah.
Who we've had on the show. A little firecracker.
Man, you just put a coin in and he just goes. I mean, remember when we had him on and he just went?
Yeah.
And the guys.
Is that a Jewish thing?
Brilliant.
Because they just do.
Is he a Messianic Jew?
I don't know if I can say that after all the things that Nick Cannon said. So I don't know. But it wasn't. Are we going to get canceled? Anyway, all right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's it.
Sorry, Viacom. Sorry.
You're fired.
Chick-fil-A?
Horowitz had a great podcast. I think it was yesterday or the day before, a couple days ago. Check it out, Conservative Review. If you do podcasts,
it's a good.
Conservative Review is a really good.
Yeah.
I don't listen to it tons.
Yeah.
But everything that I've heard from Horowitz or listened to him, I always appreciate it.
He's been on top of the COVID thing really well.
Always appreciate it. But he had one just recently. I'm trying to find it. Conservative Review. It's one of the more recent ones. It's called County Government. And county governments are the key to conservative counter-revolution. It's episode 680.
Okay.
Check it out. There's a bunch of interesting stuff. Well worth your time. It's 30, 40 minutes long. The first thing, though, that was really interesting to me is he starts off with a monologue and just sort of tears into Trump. But
cancel him.
For a change, I mean, the thing is that there's people that tear into Trump either just because they're liberals, or there's people who are tearing into Trump and
Trumpers or
this
some level
sort of this ideological Trump has to be wrong, and I will find the way that he's wrong.
Right.
The never Trumper thing.
Right.
That I just, I listen to and read some of them just because I want to kind of keep my finger on that pulse. But I rarely connect with them. At the end of the day, I'm like, I think you're just.
We actually tried with French. I don't think it worked. It just didn't connect.
Yeah. David French would be a great example of that. A very intelligent man.
Yeah.
Really I think highly of him, but we're just trains passing in the night.
And club members, you got to log into our portal to be able to watch our 2.5 hour interview with Trump.
It was really good.
With French.
Yeah. Anyways, Trump.
Not Trump.
With French. Yeah. But Horowitz and Steve Deace is actually, I'd put him in the same category. I really appreciate these guys. I mean, I think they frequently are just more straight up the middle.
Yeah.
Conservatives. Right. And they just they play it as they see it. They call it as they see it.
Yeah.
And they aren't afraid to ding Trump and say, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, that was stupid.
And that was dumb, and that was bad. And at the same time, it's not like they have to.
Right.
And they're willing to say, good job, Trump, way to go, and appreciate that. And that was, that was a B+, or that was a C-, whatever.
Right.
Anyways, this is an example of that where he's going hard and saying, basically, Trump, what the heck? He's keying off of this recent primary runoff with
Alabama, Jeff Sessions.
Jeff Sessions, and who would he run against? Is like Tommy Lasorda or something.
Tommy Newcomer,
something I don't remember. But he said basically Trump threw his weight behind and he endorsed a rhino.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time that he's done that. Now he's, we know that there's been some politics between Sessions and Trump.
Right.
And
I don't fault Trump for not being on Sessions' side anymore.
Yeah. But the point is Horowitz is saying this is not the first time that he's endorsed the rhino.
Yeah.
And his point saying basically the National Republican Party.
Tuberville.
Yeah, Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was like that.
God would do that.
Yeah, he would. But he's like he said, the National Republican Party really is pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And what he's pointing out though is that Trump, it gives us sort of the worst of both worlds in certain respects, especially over the last few months.
Yeah.
In that he sort of has this verbal opposition to the liberal progressive movement that we need to shut everything down.
He stands up there.
We need to face mask orders, whatever, and then the BLM thing comes along and it's like riots and everything. And so Trump sort of has this stand up I'm against that.
Right.
But then in practice he's not actually fighting it, as evidenced by the fact that he's endorsing and defending a lot of rhinos going into the legislature who would be the ones who would actually change
the legislation.
Law.
Right.
The president doesn't change law. The Congress does. Right. But he said, basically that gives us the worst of both worlds. We have him fighting the liberals sort of in name.
In Twitter.
Yeah, right. I'm against that. But then what he's actually doing is putting people into Congress who will capitulate just like all the Republican governors, basically except for South Dakota, have done. I mean, our own Republican governor just rolled over with all of the same COVID
stuff,
crazy.
But isn't this? I mean, this is as far as strategy is concerned. Isn't this what you would do if you're a president? In one sense, because with Jeff Sessions,
use the bully pulpit kind of things.
Well, with Jeff Sessions, you're in the middle of a fight,
right?
And a guy recuses himself who could actually help you engage the battle.
Right.
And so when you start looking at the landscape and you're like, wait, he's one of the better of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to think I need to move people out of the way and make them and find the guys who are going to be with me. I mean, in one sense, Trump is a bulldog. He doesn't need other bulldogs. He wants people who are malleable, who are movable. So getting a rhino for him makes sense.
Right.
Well,
so
I don't think he wants people malleable. I think he wants fighters that are going to fight the way he fights and fights on the same topics that he fights.
Trump doesn't want to have somebody butting heads with him.
Right.
I don't. Yeah, I agree with you on that. But it's not butting heads, but he wants you to fight. He does.
But a real fighter would fight him.
Right.
And Trump doesn't want that.
Because and the truth in that is that remember when the bump stocks happened, silence.
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah, he totally buckled.
Yeah.
Nothing
he signed it.
And it went right through and we hardly heard anybody say anything.
Yeah, right.
When that happened, it was like, whoa.
Or how about all these, how many trillions of dollars did we just throw at COVID?
Yeah, well, we're looking around too.
When he knows the facts.
I mean, that's the thing. And there's a couple of little voices. We don't know about.
Right.
The most pushback we got was from a couple of Republicans who said, let's cap the minimum, let's cap the payouts at the minimum wages of each state. And that didn't even pass.
But even guys like David Bonson was for that.
Yeah, because but what Bonson was for was like, no, you broke something.
Yeah.
But you broke something.
Right. But guys, now we're going on a rabbit trail.
We're talking about all sorts of layers going on.
But I'm just going to say it because this is a freestyle. I won't care.
Yeah.
That is a big part of our problem in this COVID thing. Why do we need to drag it out? Because there's more money in it.
Yeah.
Of course.
There is money subsidizing this insanity.
And power.
Right. Exactly.
And
you remember the JFK building got over $30 million.
You just tied trillions of dollars to COVID.
Yep.
What could go wrong?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are incentivizing. You are paying for more crisis.
Yeah. More shutdowns.
I will say though, some of the fallout from COVID, and I put the whole BLM movement inside of that. Trump did not give the governor of Minnesota?
Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't give him any money for Minneapolis. So
you let your city burn. You don't get money.
Well, and
so in one sense, it's kind of like, Okay.
But this is like, we are not very, like, our standards have dropped. It's like, how to be a person. Can we be people now?
We're back to here.
Yeah.
Genesis chapter 1.
But here's the thing. And this ties in, I think, so I don't, the point that Horowitz is making, which I think is a pretty strong one.
I think so too.
Is that Trump is not a conservative.
Yeah. Well, and anybody who thought he was, though, shame on you.
Right. So keep that in mind.
But what about the whole thing? Push back a little bit there. The whole thing is, we've said this before on the show. Pastor Wilson's brought this up. Where he kind of campaign centrist and is governed far more conservative.
I think there's points to make there.
Yeah.
That he has governed more conservatively than many people thought,
or more than what we ever expected.
But our standards.
We're a person.
Hey, we almost had Hillary, people. We almost had Hillary. Okay, so anything Trump does is like conservative.
I mean,
we're almost about to get Biden.
No, we not.
Don't take this.
I rebuke that spirit.
Don't take this as me saying I'm not grateful.
Yeah, right.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And I'm great. And I think there have been a lot of judges appointed that are actually conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's still a major gold star in his chart.
Yeah.
But I think the point that is being made, though, is that, I think what he's after is people who are more willing to just sort of be on his team.
Right.
Not so much people who are committed to ideology. They're not
or principles.
Principles. Yeah, there you go. That's a better word.
Yeah.
Conservative principles, which will sometimes run roughshod over what Trump wants to do.
Right.
And when somebody stands there and says, "No, these are my principles,"
he can't. That can harm him.
That if Trump's got a play that he wants to make right there, then you're in his way.
Because Trump's principles are malleable depending on the situation.
Exactly. That's the point that I think Horowitz is trying to make. And I think we at least, if we're going to be sort of hold your nose supporters of his reelection campaign, we need to do that with our eyes open, recognizing that that's not good.
Right.
It may be better than the alternative.
Biden.
Yeah.
It may be better than something, and you just say,
Dementia Joe.
That's slowing us down.
Yeah.
Right. That's slowing us down. Now, the thing that was funny was we were talking about Nick Cannon. You know the Nick Cannon thing.
Nick Cannon get up there and basically said it wasn't just anti-Semitic things. It was just racist, period.
Right. It included white.
I think he said white people are like animals?
Yeah, but so people don't know this, but there is a huge study out there that talks about melanin, okay? I've been into the study since 2010 because there's some family stuff going on.
Uh-oh.
And,
Do you need to name some names?
No. I want to have Thanksgiving and somebody makes some really good chicken. So but let's just say that I've been involved where there's this idea that melanin is actually what manages sanity. And so more melanin that you have in your skin, the more sane you are.
So I'm kind of insane.
Right. And so people who have less melanin are actually far more insane and do things that are
right. And
so Nick Cannon it's a lot of this comes from the 5 pointers in Islam. And kind of the more perverted.
Is that like Calvinism?
The opposite.
Calvin just rolled in his grave right now.
Sorry, Calvin.
And so,
I love you.
And Black Hebrew Israelite stuff too.
So the Black Hebrew Israelites have some of that. A part of this. Some of them blends into this. So yes.
It's a black supremacy kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's pretty much.
It's just another version of Darwinism, really.
It's Margaret Sanger gone the other side.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So he makes these comments on his show.
He has his own podcast
on
Viacom,
which is owned by.
So Viacom is Viacom, but Viacom owns MTV.
Oh, there we go.
And he has a show that is called Wildin' Out, which is a very popular show. It was very brilliant what he did.
So he says this stuff on the show,
and Viacom says, "Bye, Nick."
Yeah, you're done. You're canceled.
You're done.
That didn't take it very long. Are they funded by the Jews?
Well, who knows?
Yeah,
we don't know.
They own the banks,
and then P. Diddy,
and so Diddy decides to come out and says, "Hey, you can come on. I got a spot for you on my network."
Right.
But Fox, interestingly, where he does The Masked Singer, they didn't fire him.
So Nick Cannon does The Masked Singer on Fox.
Yeah. He hosts The Masked Singer.
Okay.
So it's not political.
Well, have you seen those masks?
Oh.
Did you see Sarah Palin?
Yeah, I saw that one. But the whole thing is that the Fox, he actually came back out and apologized for what he said. Yeah. And he had some rabbis reach out to him from the Jewish community.
Yeah, they did the whole thing. And they shook hands.
And they blessed him. And now he's kosher.
He's kosher. he got exonerated. And
Viacom just lost a great show for them.
Millions of dollars.
Yep. Because they weren't like Nike.
Fox and Diddy know how this actually works.
Which is interesting. Fox, you would think that they would be like, But no.
Yeah.
They just got done getting rid of a guy off of Tucker Carlson's show.
Well, but hey, it's good to have a guilty employee.
And then they just decided to keep Nick Cannon. If I'm the guy who's on Tucker Carlson's show.
Now you got a guilty employee, though. You got a guilty black employee who can be moved and maneuvered.
But here's the thing, guys. So what this shows me, though, is you just have these two big examples of what we just talked about. You got Trump over here on the right. You got Nick Cannon and Viacom and Fox and Diddy over here on the left.
Yep.
And they're doing the same thing.
Playing the same game.
They're playing the same game. Viacom was the kind of idiots running that show think that the ideology of a purity, of ideological purity, commitment to the BLM, whatever.
By the way, BLM completely agrees with Nick Cannon, just so you know that. Their ideology is right aligned with Nick Cannon.
But the whole facade of intersectionality, the whole facade of it is it's a facade.
Yeah.
They're not actually interested in the truth and consistency.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay?
Yep.
It's about power.
Yeah. And you're saying neither is Trump and neither is Viacom.
They're not built on principles.
Yeah.
So now I happen to think that in the big picture, I think Trump's closer to true principles.
On
Well,
accident.
Viacom thought there were some principles, right?
And so they excommunicated him.
Right.
Yeah,
They treated it like church discipline. They said you're going to have to go, and they canceled him.
Hey, BLM, look at us.
Yeah.
See what we did?
And did they get any kudos?
Kind of.
Maybe a few.
They lost on a lot of money.
But now they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
The way you know the whole BLM intersectionality nonsense is just a facade, and they don't mean it, is that Governor Ralph Northam is still the governor of Virginia.
Right.
Is there black people that still live in Virginia under his authority?
I don't know. Are there? I mean that's the thing though, is that it's not real.
It's not principled.
It's about malleability. It's about you said this earlier. Are you going to be an ally?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Are you an ally?
Yeah. And Viacom wanted to show that they were an ally with the ideology that they thought Black Lives Matter.
And it turns out it's not about the ideology, it's about the revolution. What Marxism is about is a revolution. We need to disrupt everything. We need to erase the past and history and completely uproot everyone.
Yeah.
So that we can ultimately what they are promising is some kind of utopia.
Yeah.
But it's all about the revolution. It's all about violence. It's all about Darwinism, which basically says that when you because out of chaos emerges
order.
Yeah.
That's their religion. That's their faith.
And so it was that Black Lives Matter is like, we're completely behind. They haven't said this, but the biggest mistake that Viacom assumed was that the revolution, Nick Cannon is still pushing the revolution.
Right.
He just maybe spoke too soon about where we're headed. Right?
Yeah.
He's just a little bit too long.
He's a prophet.
I thought it would be insane. When I was studying this stuff, I mean, this is years ago, at least 10 years ago, maybe more. I never thought I would hear this hit a public stage. I never thought
that kind of stuff,
that kind of talk.
Someone as big as Nick Cannon,
that it would hit a public stage, and he was talking to I think one of the rappers from Public Enemy, who got kicked out of the group because of anti-Semitism.
Really?
And so it was like I never thought that would hit the level where we would. And guys, if you really want to blow your mind, just go on YouTube, check out lack of melanin and the test and all that. It's out there, and they're using scientists to promote it, which makes you think, do I really want to trust anything the CDC says?
Right.
No.
Right.
I mean, they have changed their minds so many times on so many things. It's like, guys, are we going to come together and say we were wrong here? Look, I am fine with someone coming out and saying, okay, we need to do this now. But you better tell me you were wrong here.
Right.
This was wrong.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have said it. We did not understand. Forgive us.
Yeah. And all of this goes back to actually where Horowitz ends his podcast. That's where we started.
Yeah.
Where he's saying basically the National Republican Party is pretty corrupt, messed up nationally. But he says what we need to be doing is we need to be working locally.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of different applications of this. He lands particularly on counties and county commissioners. Yeah. Is there anybody in this room running for county commissioner?
I don't know. Have you seen anybody?
Okay. Well,
wow. Well, hello. What's your name?
Hey.
I'm Gabriel Wrench, running for county commissioner.
Okay.
Latah County.
But he points out that this is actually a place where we can exert the greatest amount of influence right now. As conservatives at the local levels. We have an election coming up in November, and I think the point that he makes, and the point that I would want to underline even more, would be to say, I think if this thing has not shown us anything at all, it's that the local your mayor and your city council and your county commissioners and your local health districts exert far more influence over your everyday life than Trump or Biden.
Then you realize. And here's the thing: is we actually have, our whole government was set up that way.
Right.
You think of when you throw a rock in the pond, and that first ripple is the biggest impact.
Right.
And that's why our state set up counties. That's why we set up cities, because we recognize that the biggest political impact on our lives comes from that first ripple.
Right.
And then it ripples out from there, but we flipped it all upside down.
That's right.
You
To where we think
all worked up about the national who's president and all this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Like, vote for that and do the best you can do with that. But where do you live?
Right.
Where do you live? What's affecting how you go to the store?
Right.
Whether you got to wear a diaper over your face or not. I mean, that's happening locally.
That's right.
And what we don't, when you look back now, the reason that we were really so concerned about if Hillary won or not, because we knew that there was nothing to protect us from the federal legislation that she would pass and that she would push, right? We knew there was nothing.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we relinquished local politics.
And we know we have nobody there.
We don't have any of the other protections. We're supposed to be layers.
We don't have a governor.
We haven't been exercising those muscles.
We don't have a commissioner.
No.
We don't have a sheriff.
Right.
We don't have a mayor.
We haven't practiced.
We don't have anybody in line. And it's like, you know what? We need to go back and restore all those foundations.
Exactly.
And this is important to think about too. Right now, if you're in California, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say California is going to have to go down.
Yeah.
It's just up in flames.
Yeah.
If you're there,
it's like we're in that submarine and that chamber is filled with water and we're just going to have to close it down.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
You know, right. In order to save this ship, but you know,
get out now.
You need to be thinking about where can I. When I moved to Moscow, Idaho, I moved here on accident. It was not intentional.
Right.
I got stuck in this joint.
God tricked you.
God tricked me, and I'm so grateful for it. I was with Darren Doan. I moved to California to go make a film with him. The night I got there, he surprised me and said, "Guess what? I'm moving to Idaho." And I said, "As long as the check is good, I'll go." But I wasn't intending to move here. And I asked him, I said, "Hey man, why are you moving to Idaho? Like, what's the deal?" He's like, "Look, from what I can tell, 7 years ago now, had this conversation. From what I can tell, what's coming down the pike, I want to be around people who know how to fight, who know how to engage, know what we're up against, and then can be around a community of men that know how to engage and fight with it." And he said, not just on a political level, but from the family level, all the way to the state level, to the federal level. He's like, I want to be around those folks, because right now I feel like I'm shooting my gun, and everybody's looking at me like, why are you shooting over there?
Right.
They look at me like I'm crazy. Right. He's like, and so I want to be around those people that fight like that.
Right.
And when I got, it took me 2.5 years to get it. And I'm so glad that I came here, because I get it. And what people,
you moved here 2 years ago.
That's what it feels like.
When we started cross politics,
right now,
he's like, I got it.
Right now, I think that we are in the situation where if we are going to preserve the freedoms and liberty that we have, we're going to have to make the kind of decisions of like, where in America can I find the points where there's a solid church, it's a solid educational community there, solid Christians, and I can join with them and start working from the local level all the way out and building out, because we're in a very detrimental moment in time and history.
Exactly. Daniel Horowitz ends up interviewing a gal who's a county commissioner for Douglas County, Colorado.
Okay.
And if you've been following Colorado, I mean, Colorado's going hard left.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's not pretty, but what they did was there's this Tri-County Health Commission that voted. It was a pretty close vote, but they voted to mandate face masks in these 3 counties.
3 counties,
There's 9 people on the health commission, 3 from each county. They represent each county. Well, anyways, the county commissioners met 24 hours later after that mandate was handed down from the health commission, and the county commissioners voted to secede.
Douglas County commissioners.
Douglas County pulled out of that health commission.
That Tri-County Health Commission,
and voted to form their own health commission in order to protect themselves and to be independent of those kinds of things. That's just an example, though.
You better do that now because that's going to come to a point where you can't be able to do that pretty soon.
It's an example, though, where local politics matters.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an example where these county commissioners said, no, we're going to be responsible for our people. We want our people to be responsible for themselves, and we're not going to take orders from this appointed, non-elected officials related to our health.
Remember we were talking about dying on the hill?
Yeah.
I think it was last week.
Yeah.
I think Christians need to realize that right now, some of these hard people to do. I can't move right now. I can't I can't get my commissioner to, we're kind of in the plot. But here's the place that you can start. Education is still one of the freest things that you can fight for, right? It's still one of the most easiest things to engage where you can still plant some stakes and have some mark off a territory.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you're serious about this and you see the encroachment that's happening from the federal government, the first thing to do is to get your kids out of government schools. And so when I hear people talking about Black Lives Matter, when I hear people talking about socialism, I hear people talking about gay marriage, my first question is, hey, you're doing great. Are your kids out of government schools?
Right.
Yep.
Because if they're not, then you don't understand that you're feeding the very beast that you're fighting.
Right.
And so that's the first, and that's the easiest thing to it's not that hard. to just pull your kids out of government schools.
It's like doing Republican talking points, but sending your kids to the Democratic national convention.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why
to go clerk underneath there?
Why would you do that? Last thing I want to say is your point about CDC admitting they're wrong.
Yeah.
And this is the bottom line thing in terms of local, where it all starts local. Yeah. Is that when you've been wrong and you admit that you're wrong, the thing that does is it actually demonstrates that you're committed to principle,
to truth.
It means that there's a standard outside of yourself. It's not about you. It's not about your ego. It's not about your reputation. It's not about your brand. It's about the truth.
Yeah.
There's something outside of you. And this is the thing that we just set up. This just happened. Trump, it's about his ego. It's about his brand. It's about his loyalty. And I'm grateful that it happens to be closer to conservative principles than the alternative.
Yep.
But that's not the same thing as being committed to the principles of truth.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Nick Cannon and the Viacom stuff. Viacom is like, hey, it's about principle, right? And everybody's like, nah. No, it's about revolution. It's about power. It's about overturning everything. It's not about the principle.
Yeah.
It's about what we can get done. Okay. So is it about the principle? If it's about the principle for you, then that means there's a standard outside of you.
That's right.
That you are measured against. And that standard is the word of God. It's not the Republican platform.
Yep.
It's not the Democrat platform. It's not the Libertarian platform. It's not the Constitutionalist platform.
Yep.
It's the word of God.
Yep.
That's right.
Right? That's your standard, which means when you don't meet it, you admit you're wrong and you ask for forgiveness. You confess your sins to your wife, to your husband, to your children, to your parents, to your friends, to your neighbors, to your pastor, to your congregants. Right? Why? Because it's not about you. It's about Jesus. It's about his word. It's about his kingdom. It's about his standard. Right? And that's what our country needs so desperately on the right and the left. All the way. We need a standard that's fixed, and the standard is Jesus and his cross and his resurrection.
That's also, you're basically talking about humility.
It's about how to be a person.
Ooh, Grace Agenda, August 14th and 15th.
All right. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. Preferably October 1st through 3rd at the Fight, Laugh, Feast conference in Nashville. This is Cross Politic.